Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Teacher Development Webinars. My name is Amanullah Sand. I facilitate virtual programs at Teacher Development Webinars. First of all, let me wish you a very happy Sindhi Culture Day. ॾे तोड़े पड़े हमरा अंदर सभिनी सिंधियुनि खे सिंध जो सकाफ़ती ॾींहुं मुबारक हुजे, लख लख वाधायूं. And Teacher Development Webinars is a social action project implemented by British Council Elected Citizens in Pakistan as a response to COVID-19 crisis. It is an initiative to support teachers and educators around the world with professional development opportunities. We are thankful to Master English Training for sponsoring a Zoom account. And in this webinar, we will explore effective way on how to make the best of a classroom. We'll examine how to address the multiple intelligences in a class. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Tayyaba Zulfiqar for this webinar. She's a lecturer, master trainer at Hague since 2016, teacher trainer at Lincoln Reading Lounge, English language instructor with English Works, Young Emerging Leader Award, and she has got a Young Emerging Leader Award by Pakistan US Alumni Network. She's a certified MOOC instructor from Bali State University, USA in 2017. She also achieved this scholarship to attend a global online course from Iowa State University. She's presented at various conferences like e-teacher conference organized by Rilo, and she's also a e-teacher mentor. She has got TESOL scholarships from Rilo Embassy. She's mentoring 40 ELTs and with 5 different MOOCs, and she has extensive experience of attending massive open online courses. Thanks very much for being with us today, Tayyaba. We welcome you at Teacher Development Webinars.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me this wonderful opportunity. And I cannot wait to share my insight, which has made my classes extremely successful. So I'm going to start the webinar and I'll be sharing screen. Please let me know if you can see the screen.
Yep, I can.
All right. Oh my God. Let me just full screen it.
Great.
So I compiled all of these techniques into how to make your class a very interesting classroom was because I myself was a very challenging student. So I am basically from the millennials, and millennials had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood, right? So when I was a student, there was not any technology, and there was not really any creative element in the classroom except for books only, right? So it was really difficult for me to understand because I used to lose my attention after every 5 minutes. So when I started teaching myself, I realized that students these days have attention span even less than 5 minutes because they are so much into technology and they find a traditional classroom extremely boring. So basically today we are going to recognize and fun learning actually goes a long way. If I imagine anything that I have learned in a very light and fun way, I remember it forever. And explore how to engage students effectively in every classroom, because as Garner said that there are 8 different intelligences and there are 8 different ways in people learn in a classroom, and asking them to learn in one certain way would be an absolute torture on their mental health. And we have to adapt ways to make the best of a classroom. And this is no rocket science that a teacher who is a fun teacher is always remembered, and students actually want to be like them. And every student who actually wants to become a teacher has a fun teacher who actually taught them and they remember it. I specifically remember my teacher, physics teacher, when I was a student, and my Urdu teacher, because they used to help us learn in a very fun environment. And for me, these two subjects were extremely difficult. And we are going to walk away with ways which will help the multiple intelligences in a classroom. So basically, what happens is that the environment that we are currently living in has a lot of anxiety and depression. And, students basically want to study, they want to learn, but unfortunately, there is so much distraction around them that they find it really difficult. So what we can do is we can make the best of everything that is happening around us and help them learn in a much productive way. And the biggest distraction that we currently have is a cell phone, right? A cell phone has so many different applications which they are always involved in. So how about we help let them use a cell phone in the classroom, but in a very productive way. So, some facts about the traditional classrooms are that if you even ask if you take an anonymous survey of your students, you will see that there are 70% of students who are bored in classroom. We all realize that educational institutions are the places which should be something that the student should look forward to the most. Reason being that they actually are learning something and this is something beneficial for their future, but 70% of students find it really boring. And 60% of the students at least find half their lectures boring, and 70% claim to find most or all of their lectures which are they find them boring. So how can we incorporate something in classroom that will make it fun? So basically, traditional classroom is one of the most common teaching methods. It has the advantage of being able to reach students in one economical time slot, but there are some practical ways in which we can actually help them learn and enjoy at the same time. So I am guilty of doodling in my classrooms. When I was a student, I used to doodle, I used to pass notes, and I used to literally look at the clock and wait when my lecture is going to be over. And all I ever cared for was, okay, my attendance has been marked, I'll be able to sit in the exam, and I'm good to go. So how is something that is going to help students? So this is my personal compilation. Obviously, being a teacher, you read so many ways of making a classroom interesting. So I have actually compiled and experienced this way, and I have actually named it. I have given it the acronym of Fetch Cats method, and you can see a cute black cat staring at you. So basically, the Fetch Cats method, it basically has 10 letters, which means that there are 10 ways of how to make the classroom extremely interesting. And acronym is my way of making learning something easily, because again, I could not remember a lot of theory. So by the end of this lesson, you would be able to webinar, in fact, you would be able to know what is a fetch cats method and apply at least 5 of it in one classroom. So basically, the fetch cats method is it basically consists of fun facts, encouragement, telepathy, conversations, humor. Very important. It is extremely important to have a little bit of fun in your classroom. Curiosity, challenge, ask, technology, and brainstorming. So you guys must be wondering that these are all the things which we have already been doing. And these are the ways which have helped me a lot. And most of my students are of the opinions that they find my classroom interesting, and they feel that the class just passes in 10 minutes and they get to learn a lot. So the first thing is fun fact. I have actually, I always start my first class of English, whether I'm teaching first semester or second semester, I always start the class with fun facts. And students are so amused that, you know, something like this can happen in a subject. For example, you will find some of the fun facts which I'm going to share is only 2 English words in current use end in gry. They're angry and hungry. So this is a fun fact. You can talk about any other fun fact which is less known. The word bookkeeper, along with its associate bookkeeping, is the only unhyphenated English word with 3 consecutive double letters. Right? So we have sweet tooth, which is hyphenated. So this is another fun fact. Okay, this is something really difficult. The word triskaidekaphobia means extreme fear of the number 13, which is related to paraskeviketriophobia, which means fear of Friday the 13th. So this is one fun way. You can also maybe ask the students to repeat it at the end of the class. Maybe keep a challenge that they should memorize all the spellings. Another interesting word is the word uncopyrightable is the longest English word in normal use that contains no letter more than once, right? So you can even give it in a little, maybe fill in the blanks or ask them orally. So some other fun facts can be not related to your subject. So basically, fun fact is a good way of starting a class. You can have one fun fact, 5 fun facts, or maybe ask the students to share their fun facts. And trust me, you will get 100% results. This is something really interesting. So these are fun facts which are not related to the English language subject, which my subject is. It can be anything. So knitting is actually a way of acts as a natural antidepressant, which can ease anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. So, you know, the first thing that I'm going to do after this webinar is learn how to knit, because I don't want to age. You know, I want to look really young, and I really can afford Botox. So I think knitting is a good way. So 30 minutes of daily complaining can physically damage your brain. Listening to someone constantly complain also negatively affects brain function. So, you know, I used to do a little bit of complaining, but when I read this, I was like, no more complaining and only gratitude, because gratitude is the best attitude. So rabbits can see behind them without moving their heads, which is awesome. So the blob of toothpaste that sits on your toothbrush has a name. It's called nurdle. So let's not waste any more nurdles and just use as we can use them to brush our teeth. So the next thing is, guys, let me rephrase that. The method that we are learning right now is fetch cats method. So fetch, the number 2 is encourage. So this goes without saying that encouragement goes a long way. I will share my personal experience. I was at this training, and the trainer asked me, how many cigarettes does a person smoke in one day? And since I'm not a smoker, so I don't know. So I just gave them a wild guess that maybe 1 pack. So they were like, okay, anybody else? So I was a little taken aback. Like, I wished they would have appreciated me, although I didn't really do much. I just gave them an answer, but I really wished I would have gotten some appreciation. So, had they said, all right, you're pretty close, or good, or excellent, or thank you for your answer, so I would have felt really happy. It feels great to be appreciated in a bunch of people. It really empowers you. I love encouragement. I wish everybody would encourage and appreciate each other all day long, like we do to kids. Even if a kid is wrong, we would appreciate them. So let's just start doing that more often. So a couple of examples are fabulous, excellent, good job, I'm so proud of you, and a couple of more answers. So next is telepathy. So guys, telepathy actually is obviously a huge science, which actually means that you can understand people's feeling or communicate without even saying anything. So it's really important for a teacher to be listening with their heart, not just the ears. So I'm sure that currently, if we have 30 to 50 teachers in this webinar, we all can admit that we can sense the feelings of students. We can very easily understand what a student is going through. I remember that I once I was really upset in my classroom, and my Urdu teacher, Miss Nahid, she somehow understood that Tayyaba is not feeling, she's feeling under the weather. So she actually did a couple of things which made me feel really good. She actually asked me to start reading. I started reading my Urdu book, and she appreciated me. And she just turned my day around without even doing any efforts with her kind words. So, being educators in this world where we can be anything, we can actually be kind. I do realize that teaching can be extremely challenging and sometimes really frustrating, but obviously we are teachers and we have to understand that there are so many students in our classroom who have so many issues going on, and mental health, unfortunately, is not seen through the naked eye, it's just felt. So, next is conversations. So, instead of lecture is basically a one way of dealing with the classroom, right? Whenever we start a class, we focus on delivering a lecture. So how about we convert these lectures into conversations? For example, if I'm teaching tenses, um, what do you think? What are your views? And I can actually ask them, okay, what do you guys know about tenses so far? So tenses is something which we have studied since long, probably in primary school. So we can ask them about, instead of just starting our slides with, so these are the tenses and these are the aspects. So we can always start them with conversation and ask students. And whenever we are having conversations, we must understand and realize that include students who you feel are not uh, participating a lot. Because again, I would like to give my example that I was a very shy student, and I wished my teacher would have, like nudged me that Tayyaba, speak something. I wanted to participate, but I was extremely shy, and I really wanted my teachers to motivate me. So this is important. I make sure that typically we have a class of 1 hour and 2 hours. So in the 2 hours class, I make sure that all of my students participate, every single one. Even if they say that they don't want to, I make them participate in a good way. And I love a light, fun classroom instead of creating fear. So the fetch cats method continues, and we are on number 5, which is humor. The most important aspect of fetch cats, I feel that it's extremely important to laugh in the classroom. Teaching, we all know, is a serious business, but you don't have to be serious to be effective. You can laugh at yourself when you do something silly or wrong, and you can laugh at the students in a fun way. Share memes about students and school, like harmless memes. Sarcasm and irony is not allowed. You have to make sure that your humor doesn't hurt any student and they all have a good laugh about it. So these days I feel that in the era of so many opinions and Twitter, you never know, you could hurt someone. So I whenever I use humor as a tool, I make fun of myself. For example, I sometimes I pronounce something wrong. For example, that day, instead of sorry, I said sorrow. So I laughed at it, and my students also automatically started laughing at it. Similarly, um, uh, I remember one day I was about to fall in my classroom. So whenever I introduce myself, I'm like, "Hi guys, I'm Taiba. I'll be your English language teacher." So I fall a lot. Actually, you will see me falling down the stairs. You will see me, tripping over stones. So you can laugh as much as you want to, because that's what happens. I laugh, I fall like 10 times a day. So you can make fun. And similarly, if you find a student who came late to the class, so instead of scolding them or reminding them that you're late, you can probably clap for them. Hey, really, you made it to the classroom. Oh my God, I'm so honored to have you. So, you could have a little fun about it. So, again, of course, humor goes a long way. So, all of my teachers who were funny, I still remember them. I still want to meet them. And, already we are living an extremely in a serious environment. So being humorous and funny can actually help you, release a lot of endorphin. And of course, endorphin is a good um, hormone, I guess. So next is curiosity. Right. So, how many of us actually love challenges? So, curiosity is related to the next one, which is challenges. I love challenge. I love an environment in which I have to compete and prove myself. So, curiosity actually goes a long way, in a way that, for example, you can ask them questions like, can you tell me word that starts with P and ends with an R? Or maybe, why do we call alphabets? So basically, we are naturally curious people, and we can always maximize the interest and engagement of students by triggering their motivation through curiosity and getting them on their toes. So you can ask them questions like, do you know that how many languages is English made of? Or do you know which was the first international language of the world? You can give them MCQs and ask them, is it French, is it German, is it English? And you can also ask them questions like, do you know what is the meaning of your name? So all of these things. And or one thing which I actually love doing is, do you know what is so special about today? And I ask all of them that what is special about today. So they give me reasons like, today is the international day, today is this, today is that. But I tell them that the something which is extremely special today, something that is special about today is you yourself. You're special to me because you have changed me in so many ways. And then I tell them, these are the ways that you have changed me. So teaching is all about a personal experience with each and every student. We have so many students in our classroom, but we have to realize that we have a full semester, 4 months with them. And at least in 4 months you should have personally 1 hour time with every student, right? So the fetch cats continues. We are at number 7, which is challenge. So challenge them instead of creating fear. So I remember that I was teaching my students figurative language. So in the figurative language, I taught them metaphors, simile, onomatopoeia, idioms, and I gave them an assignment in which I wrote a sentence which said that I challenge you guys to use all of this figurative language in a story and come up with an extremely thrilling and suspense story which has an extremely amazing climax, right? So I never got such a response from my students. They were actually the time of the assignment submission was 1 week, and right after the classroom, out of 30, 11 students submitted me the assignment, and they specifically wrote that, ma'am, we have completed the challenge, we want you to check it and let us know if we win. So a little change of the perception, and you can get great results because we want to engage them. All right. So another good way of creating a challenge is that we all know that we need a physical activity after every 10 to 15 minutes. So when you're teaching a class after COVID, when you're going to start teaching, you can give students a time that um, let's create two teams. So team A and team B, and you're going to ask questions which you just did in the classroom. For example, how many tenses are there? There are three types of tenses, and how many aspects does each tenses have? So this is going to be a rapid fire. So a rapid fire question is something which needs to be answered immediately. So this way they are going to learn in a great way. And one comment which I get from my students is that whenever they are learning, whenever there is an English exam, they simply have to revise it. They don't have to study from the start, and that is for me a huge compliment, because these are the kind of things which I always do in my class, and they understand the concepts really easily. So one way of the way I teach them punctuations is this way: 2 2 3 3 4. This is my way which I created myself. This can help them learn punctuations in a better way. So I asked them to memorize this 2 2 3 3 4, and then I asked them how many punctuations are there, in any subjects in English. So they actually start telling me. They give really funny answers like six maybe, or 50 or 100. So that's actually really funny because the focused punctuations usually are full stop, comma, question mark. So I asked them that, can you tell me what does here number 4, how many which are the punctuations which have a comma in them? So they tell me it's a comma, it's an inverted commas, it's semicolon, and it's an apostrophe s. So these are all the punctuations which have commas in them. So there are 4. Number 3 represents all those here. Number 3, it represents all those punctuations which end a sentence. So which is full stop, question mark, exclamation mark. These three, this 3 represents those punctuations which are the odd ones, like asterisk, slash, and round bracket. This 2 represents punctuations which are dashes, which is underscore, n dash, and m dash. And this 2 represents punctuations which have full dots in them, which is a colon and um, it's ellipses. So this is how we learn, and my students, even the first semester who have passed out, who are done with their degree, they still remember it. I have this habit of going to Instagram and asking random questions that, do you guys remember the formula of punctuations? And all of the students who even have passed out of the university and doing their own job, they still remember that, ma'am, how can we forget it? It's 2 2 3 3 4. So basically it's 14 punctuations, but again, there is a single inverted comma as well, which make them 15. Sometimes they do say that the square bracket is a punctuation as well, but I don't remember ever that I have seen it being used in any literature. So after a lot of research, I found out that there are like 14 to 15 punctuations if we include the single inverted comma as well. These are some of the challenges that you can do in your classroom. Of course, you can change them according to your lesson and your subject. So I do this a lot. Make a sentence containing all parts of speech. And they actually write a simple sentence, for example, I love rice, and then they incorporate all the parts of speech in that one sentence, and that's a fun game. You can also do it time bound. I think a challenge must be time bound. It's up to you whether it's 5 minutes. I usually give them 5 to 7 minutes for the first one. Write a dialogue including all tenses and their aspects. Again, this is challenging and this is really interesting. Students love learning tenses in this way, and they actually come up with really amazing dialogues which have all tenses. So how many words without repeating the letters can you deduce from enthusiastic? So this is another challenge, that I write a word enthusiastic or a really big word on the board, and I ask one of the students to be the teacher for 10 minutes, and they have to come up with words. For example, enthusiastic can have uh, a very simple ant, ant, hut, sit, sit. So the point is, without repeating any letter. For example, if there are two T's, then in one letter or one word, there should be two T's only, right? So these are some of the challenges. Moving on, in the fetch cats method, we have ask. So ask is very simple. When I was having conversation with my student regarding presentations, it was time that they deliver their presentations. So I asked them that, what do you think, should I give a pair presentation, should I give an individual, or should I give a group presentation? So they all said, most of them said, ma'am, we want a group presentation. So I was like, how many students should we include in a group? So they said, ma'am, 6. So instead of using my teacher's card and saying no, 6 is a huge number, I asked them that, would you be able to manage 6? How about we convert the group into 4? So I'm conveying my concern, because obviously 6 means that 2 to 3 students are not going to work, maybe, or they might take it for granted, which we all know sometimes happens. So instead of telling them that no, not more than 4, you can ask them that, can we include 4, can we include 5? And then some of them might say, ma'am, we are a group of 5. So you can always say that, all right. So one of the students was adamant on the fact that she wanted to deliver alone. So I let her. I told her, you can deliver the presentation alone, and I kind of gave them an edge. So first presentation, if you listen to them, they are going to listen to you afterwards, because we do have more than one presentations in the whole semester. You can even, for example, ask them, whenever you're asking them a question, like you want them to participate in the class, you can ask them, how are you doing? For example, Sarah, how are you doing? I'm doing fine, ma'am. So Sarah, can you tell me all types of punctuations? And this simple sentence of how are you doing can just evaporate all the anxiety, all the tension that she might be carrying in her mind. So it's important, because whenever I'm upset and somebody is kind to me, I automatically the energy, the positive energy is very inducive. So moving on to the fetch cats method, number 9 is technology. We should never forget to incorporate technology in every class, and I am really happy to see a lot of teachers that they had been incorporating educational technology, not just previously, but after during this isolation and the quarantine time, we are able to do it even in a much better way, because we have learned to use so much technology in this time. It's going to be almost a year that we are going through quarantine. So we need to understand that the generation that we are currently teaching is Generation Z. And Generation Z are known as digital natives. They are the mobile natives. They cannot live without connecting to their cell phone, right? They need to use their cell phone. So we can obviously incorporate educational technology. But first, we need to understand about the Generation Z. So you must have heard that Generation Z is a slang for people who were born on or after 1997, which means that almost most of the students are Generation Z. So basically, they are social and naturally social, and they spend 7 to 6 hours per day socializing with friends and family. So 90 to 95% of them are extroverts, right? So I believe introvert is now extinct. It's just um, it is confined to us. They're multitasker. They prefer to work on multitask at the same time. They can work off on 5 screens at once, and they're entrepreneurs, they're educated, they're constantly learning. 1 to 2 will have a college education. They're philanthropists. I have seen a lot of my students who are working on community service. They're collecting blankets for the, you know, for people who can't afford them, and they're collecting charities, constantly involved in community service without even anybody telling them. So they're digital natives, and they have not spent their adulthood, like their teenage, without a cell phone. They're interactive, they're tech savvy. Have a question, Google it. Okay? They're less focused. They need continuous updates and stimulation. It's no surprise that the generation has an attention span of 8 seconds. Can you guys believe that? 8 seconds. I had an attention span of 5 minutes, and I thought this was way too less. Like, how am I even going to survive in this world with an attention span of 5 minutes? But let's meet Generation Z, which has an attention span of 8 seconds. They're extremely cautious. Number 10. Um, they tend to be more careful with their expenses. So, they're pretty, uh, you know, they're pretty cautious about everything that is happening. So these are 10 educational technologies which can be used in the classroom. And I'm really proud of this logo right here because I made it myself. I collected all the logos and collaged them into one big logo. So I kind of feel like, wannabe Generation Z right now. So guys, these are a couple of, I'm sure you guys must have used it or heard about it, and using them in your um, class is going to again be extremely helpful because we are teaching uh, Generation Z, and we need to understand their mindset. If we understand their mindset, we will be able to better teach them in a much better way. Google Classroom, Kahoot, Quizlet, Padlet, Linowit, Zoom, Prezi, YouTube, Canva, and Twitter. So you can Twitter, everybody, if they have a Twitter account, so you can write a tweet, and you can ask them to retweet and write something. So you're getting a lot of retweets, so your account is also getting a boost and they are also getting a boost. One thing which I would like to mention is that a LinkedIn account for students is important. Please ask them to work on their LinkedIn account, write them an endorsement, ask them to write you an endorsement. So it's like going two ways, so you're also benefiting and they're also benefiting from it. Moving forward to the fetch cats method, brainstorming. So, brainstorming usually starts at the start of the lesson, but, in my fetch cat method, it was fitting at the last in the acronym, so I kind of did it at the end. But again, fetch cats method, the first thing is you should start the class with brainstorming, right? So brainstorming actually helps to generate as many ideas as possible. And as the educators and the academicians know that, educationists know that no guess is a wrong guess when it comes to, brainstorming, right? So you cannot criticize, all right? You cannot criticize. You can, for example, again, when I ask my students how many punctuations are there, some of them say 1,000. Some of them say 5, right? So you cannot like tell them that you're wrong. You can always encourage, all right, so you think that there are 1,000 punctuations, so can you name any 5 of them, something like that. So this process actually may be simple in theory, but it's not always easy to generate new ideas out of nowhere. Now, of course, it's your judgment call on how many students do you ask when you're brainstorming, but try to make sure that you take ideas from almost every student if your class is of more than 1 hour. But if there is a 1 hour classroom, please make sure that you ask from students who feel really shy. And like I said, telepathically, every teacher must understand that this is the student who's feeling shy. Like, just like a mother understands her child, a teacher understands her student. So what do we use for and since for? So basically, I usually ask them that, when it comes to telling time, I give them a couple of questions like, if I have been working on this project dash last 7 years. So are we going to use for or since in it? So this is going to be a brainstorming. How can we convert a metaphor into simile? So basically, these were the 10 ideas that I personally have compiled for my classrooms, and I hope you guys, do them as well, and you will be learning. The students are going to learn in a much better way. Let me show them to you. The ideas are the fetch cats method. So once you incorporate all these 10 ideas, so they start, naturally you start incorporating them. You won't even need to realize that, oh, fun fact, I need to have a fun fact here, or I need to encourage. You will simply, they will become a part of your personality if you start working on them, right? So again, the class is a combination of 8 different intelligences, and some are visual learners, some learn with the help of kinesics, and some need some physical energy in the classroom. So it's really important to address all of that, and I can guarantee you that your students are going to love your classrooms. So this was my little secret of making the best of your classrooms. And basically what we have learned is recognize when students are getting bored and lighten up your classroom, design a class which is full of fun and learning, adapt a smart learning method to teach, utilize these methods in an easy way. So we need to understand that you guys must have attended a lot of webinars as well, and those webinars, I'm probably it's really difficult to keep your attention span. But I remember that one of my teachers who gave me a training. It was a training of 4 hours, and they incorporated all of these things in those trainings, and I was not bored at all. And their name is Osman Gulzari. He's a trainer of Pakistan, and 4 hour training just flew by, because first of all, he was asking everybody. That what have we learned, what have you thought of it, what are your views. So I was on my toes all the time. He was giving challenges. He used technology. He used Zoom, rooms. So these are ways in which you will yield great results. So thank you so much, Amanullah.
Thanks very much. It was an interactive session and wonderful presentation. Thanks for all these fun ideas. And now the floor is open for questions. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. We have one question, and it says, I think it's from Swelchana. She says, where can we find more details about these methods? So I think and all these references are given. And the other question is, hello, I'm from Indonesia. How to keep our students' curiosity during the teaching and learning process?
So I'll first answer the second question about curiosity. Is that once you're teaching, so I ask my students whenever I'm teaching punctuation. So I give them a method 2 2 3 3 4, and I ask them to memorize it, and I will ask it at the end of the class. So curiosity is that can you tell me what are the 4 punctuations that have commas in them? And another way is that do you guys know when was English founded, or what was the first language. So it pretty much comes from the lessons that you're actually teaching. You can always include 3 to 4 questions which are curious and which actually um, helpful for them to learn. And curiosity is one thing which keeps students on their toes all the time. So what was the first question? I couldn't understand it properly. Aman, it's muted. You're mute. Aman, you're
Oh,
mute.
let me unmute. Yeah, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
So it was about, more resources or details about the things you have shared.
With the technological one, the educational technology one.
All these resources. So I think you have given your references, and they can avail these resources.
Yes, I would like to. They can basically, for a teacher, Google is your best friend, right? So once you have any question about Quizlet, Kahoot, you can go to YouTube and you can go to Google. Obviously, what I have mentioned here is not even 1/100th of the resources that are available on Google. So if you have any questions about any technology, just go to Google, and if you know how to use a Facebook, you will know how to use all this technology, because we are, getting there in technological terms. Yes.
And oftentimes it becomes challenging to choose, what are the appropriate tools or resources for your students. So how do you do that? Because there's so much wealth of resources available on internet, and
I have shared with you guys five 10 resources, right? So one, the most important resources which I used in my classrooms are: number one, Facebook. I'm talking about myself. Facebook, YouTube, Canva, Kahoot, and Quizlet. These are the five technologies which I used. I also use LinkedIn. So, it's up to you really to, it's your judgment call to decide. I feel personally that if you are new into technology, then you should make sure every student has a LinkedIn account. It's really important. Please make sure that every student has an Instagram account, because I make sure that they do, and it helps them to, express themselves. So LinkedIn, you can start off with LinkedIn, you can start off with Kahoots and YouTube. So small steps, and the journey begins with one single step. Yes, Aman.
great. So I don't see, any other questions. A lot of appreciation for your session. Great
Thank you so much.
ideas, and the presentation was engaging. So yeah, great. So it's time to say you goodbye. You can follow us on our social media channels. This recording will be made available later this evening at our Teacher Development Webinars YouTube channel. I would like to remind you that COVID-19 cases have been on rise. So please be responsible for your lives, for your loved ones' lives. Please practice physical distancing, keep wearing masks, and don't forget social solidarity. We'll see you with our next webinar on Wednesday. And now, once again, a very happy Sindhi Cultural Day to everyone out there. I would